Okay, so welcome everyone to our meeting this evening, and I'll start with our acknowledgement of country. Council acknowledges that we meet on the traditional country of the Paramankangana people. We pay our respects to ancestors and elders past and present as the custodians of this ancient and beautiful land. Together we will care for this place for the generations to come, and in this context, the decisions we make should be guided by the principle that nothing we do should decrease our children's ability to live on this land. We have no apologies tonight, and I'm not aware of any requested leave of absences. And there is no one absent. So the first thing that we need to do before we consider any other item is the minutes of the previous meeting. So they were circulated via email. Would someone like to move something in relation to that item?
Yeah,
Councillor
I'll push
Herman?
my button.
Yep.
It's not going green.
No, you're speaking when it's red.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll move as circulated.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Grant. So given it's just accepting the minutes, I'll put the motion. All those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Does anyone have a declaration of conflict of interest for this evening? No. We'll move on to item 6. So there are a few opening remarks I'd like to make. Firstly, of course, I'd like to welcome our 3 new elected members, Councillor Gladigo, Woolcock and Trescothick, who are attending their first meeting. For those of you who in the gallery are not aware, we warmly welcome you, and we look forward to your contributions for this term. I'd also like to welcome all of you in the gallery tonight. Thank you for taking time out of your evening to come along and either listen or speak to us. And a couple of things about the microphones, as has already been indicated, they are quite sensitive, which you can already tell, quite an upgrade from what we're used to, so just be mindful of that. And the second thing is, although it does have the 3 can be active at a time, and then we have a sort of a queue system, at this point I'm still going to look for hands for moving, seconding and then speaking. So ideally there's never going to be more than 3 mics on at any one point in time anyway. And I'll note the order of those speaking, because that's, if, for example, 3 of you press it all at once, I don't know who pressed it first. So we'll still use that hand as an indication of who's wanting to ask a question or move an item. The other thing is, with the new elected members, please at any point, if you feel like I'm rushing or you're not aware of what's occurring at this point in time, whether it's an amendment or I'm about to put a motion to vote and you're not sure or you want to ask a question, please just indicate and we can talk through that. I want to make sure that you're comfortable with how we're moving things forward. Okay, so we'll move on to item 7. There are no questions adjourned and there are no questions lying on the table. Within item 8, we have no petitions and no deputations, but we do have a public forum. There are a few people here tonight. So first thing I'd like to do is just get an indication of who would like to speak in the public forum this evening. If you just raise your hand so I can understand how many people are wanting to speak. So there are 4. So we normally have an allocation of 10 minutes for the public forum. So were there 5? Can I just get a show of hands again? Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me see, 4. Okay, so we'll say that there's 4 at this point. It's an opportunity to essentially come up and speak to the elected body about any matter. You can pose a question, just bearing in mind that because there might not be prior notice of that question, it could need to be taken on notice. With the 10 minutes, that'll allow you sort of roughly 2.5 minutes each to sort of come up and speak on the matter that you would like to talk to us about. So who would like to come up first? Mr. Kelly, if you'd like to come forward. So when you come up to the public forum, if you can, so the button on the right is the one that you need to press to activate it. If you just like to take a seat, and firstly, if you can just begin by stating your name, although I know it, and your location that's just recorded in the minutes, and then you can speak to the chamber.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor. I'm Daniel Kelly from the Onkaparinga Woolloomool Museum, and 2 things. I'd like to congratulate those new members of this chamber. It is quite a privilege for you to be able to sit and represent us, the public, and I wish you all the best in the future. And thank you so much for giving of your time. It is a huge task that you have ahead of you, and it is much appreciated. The second thing is a point of appreciation. Today at the Onkaparinga Woolmill Museum, we had the privilege of showing the collection to Melinda Rankin and Jess Charlton. And I must say that we do appreciate their interest in the collection. I know that there's some issues coming up soon that everyone will need to familiarise themselves with the collection of national significance so that you are well versed in what to do next. And so it was very gratifying to see the collaboration start. I made a statement that this collection has been mothballed, as it were, or kept in all its entirety for the last 30 years by a group of volunteers that worked tirelessly to preserve. A lot of items had to be carefully preserved, and now the collection is there ready for an incredible time ahead of display at Fabric, I believe. It's going to be a very successful time. Who owns the collection?
About 1 minute.
At this stage doesn't really count. I've said that before in the chamber. Well, in the other meeting that we had. What counts is that those that are the guardians and those that have been able to keep an eye on the collection for all these years need to do so in the future, because it's not an easy thing to hold it all together, and so that's going to be quite a task. So thank you for the couple of minutes, and I wish, again, the new elected members all the best.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kelly. And the second person like to come forward and speak, doesn't really matter what order. And just before you do speak, are you wanting to speak on the Piccadilly item?
Yes.
Yep. Councillor Herman, if you just press your microphone, thanks.
Hello. Acting Mayor, I am the Deputy Member on the CAT panel, which will be considering this item.
Mm-hmm.
The member, Councillor Mudge, will not be in attendance, so I'll be attending the CAT meeting tomorrow night. In view of that, I'll declare an interest, and material interest, and I'll leave the room while this is discussed.
Thank you, Councillor Herman. So we'll just give a moment for Councillor Herman to leave. And just to explain to the gallery of people who are interested in this item, it's really important that the CAT members are not influenced or not engaged with respect to a potential application that's coming to the CAT panel, so then they can be objective and they're adhering to their code of conduct. So you were two people that indicated you wish to speak, yeah? So I'll allow you to have a combined 5 minutes, so 2.5 minutes each. If you'd like to just state your name, where you're from, and speak to the chamber, thanks.
Yeah. Hi everyone, my name's Andrew. I live on Sprigg Road with a bunch of the other people that are sitting behind us today. I guess we're here tonight to talk about this large water factory that's located at 61 Sprigg Road.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Sure can. Hello. So, we're here tonight to talk about the large water factory at 61 Sprigg Road. The existing factory has a number of issues associated with it. Largely noise, truck movements. There's a bunch of sort of environmental concerns that the other residents have on the road as well. The current factory is approved for 40 truck movements per week. They have a permit that enables them to commence truck movements at 5 in the morning, which is very early, and they can run trucks as late as, I believe, 7 p.m. at night. They regularly breach these conditions. I believe as a result of enforcement action, they have applied to quadruple the number of truck movements per week, and I think that's before the CAT Council tomorrow. This is, something that's only really just become realised by us on the road, and I think most of the people that live between the factory and the main road are probably represented here tonight. We're very worried about the impact of the extra truck movements. Should this application be approved, it would have a massive impact on our lives. Already we are very unhappy with the existing permit that has been granted, and that was done without our consultation. To find out that, this person wants to now increase the truck movements, by, up to 4 times, if not more, is really concerning for us. The issues associated with it, like safety element, I'm not sure how many of you have been down Sprigg Road, but it's a beautiful, narrow lane. It's on the Hyson Trail. It's regularly used by walkers, hikers, dog walkers, bike riders. It's a lovely spot, but it's unfortunately been ruined by this water factory and the huge trucks that they pump up and down the road every day. So yeah, I've got 3 little kids myself. We're right on the road. I've worried about my kids running onto the road. Should a truck not have time to brake in time? These trucks travel at excessive speed. They get a run up going up the hill. So they hoon past our place trying to get enough speed because they're very heavy, full of water. They take water to the factory for bottling from other sources. They bottle it up there. They extract it there. They send it off to other places. The trucks travel at speed down the hill past our house. House shakes when they go past. It's really annoying, and it's unsafe for everyone in the area, including all the walkers and everyone on the road. There's no footpath or anything like that on the road. People walk on the bitumen. As I said, it's a lovely spot, and the number of walkers is increasing. Every year we see more and more, but the trucks are also increasing, and it's only a matter of time before there's going to be an accident. So the issues are safety, noise and vibration, annoyance to the other residents on the road. There's also a few other concerns. I think Richard's probably, I'll probably have my 2.5 minutes, so I'll hand over to you to talk.
Pretty much right on the money. Yes,
Thanks, Andrew. I'm Richard Sprott. I live a bit down the road towards Lambert Road on Sprigg Road. We've lived there for 40 years, and since we moved in, this business has been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We've had almost no opportunity to question or ask or seek some information about the development that's been going on up there over 40 years. And we just find now that being woken up constantly in the morning is very stressful. We constantly get woken up at 5:30 in the morning with trucks going past. We have grandchildren that we're afraid every time they arrive, we're afraid they might go out on the road and get injured. We have skid marks out the front of our place where people have been coming in and out of our property, and trucks have roared to a stop. There's skid marks right up the road, actually, outside Andrew's place and things. I've quite often been run off the road by trucks, walking or driving. The trucks actually, when they come, they go from the freeway all the way down Piccadilly Road, down Lambert Road and Sprigg Road. And I guess it's everyone in the district is severely impacted by this business, and the idea of having it increasing by up to 400% is just completely untenable. We calculated that if it does increase by this amount, it'll be 1 truck every 15 minutes for 14 hours a day. So it's just completely out of character with the amenity of the area. We believe the current conditions aren't being complied with.
You've got about 1 minute.
And that we would really like council to take on this information and really strongly advocate that this current proposal doesn't get approved and it's delayed so that we can actually have a proper consultation around the impacts of what's going on in that area. Thank you.
And sorry if I can quickly just have a little, my 2 cents at the end there. There's some briefing notes that were prepared for the panel members that we went through. There's a whole lot in there about the applicant and all these traffic reports that he's got to support what he wants to do, but there's nothing in there about the impact on the residents. And I feel like the CAP panel needs to be aware not just of the applicant's side of the story, but they should also hear, and I think the briefing notes need to be updated to include our concerns, because we are all being impacted by this, and it's really not right. Yeah, and as I said, everyone on the road is here tonight. We wouldn't be here if we didn't care about it and it wasn't important to us. And please, just if you can anything you do to help, would be appreciated.
Yeah. So just obviously you're probably aware, but we as an elected body don't have the ability to make any development decisions. That rests with the CAP. I did have a chat with staff just before the meeting, and being aware that you wanted to speak on this matter, and the relevant director is not here. But if you wanted to leave your details, and the assessment manager from the council can reach out to you tomorrow morning and talk about whether there is any mechanism to have your concerns incorporated into it. There are quite rigid criteria set by the state government within the PDI Act, so the Planning Development Infrastructure Act, which determines what is formally consulted on and what is not. And I couldn't tell you off the top of my head if there is a mechanism outside of that for the CAP to hear your concerns. But sort of as I mentioned, if you leave your details, the assessment manager will ring you up in the morning and sort of talk through that in a bit more detail so you have a better understanding. And secondly, you did raise concerns about, I guess, potential breaches of the current conditions or allowances from that business. Now, if you do feel that that is occurring, then I would encourage you to raise it with the administration so they can investigate and action if that is actually occurring, because obviously that would be a concern.
From what we understand, the breaches have led to him applying for more truck movements. So he wants to get his permit increased so that he isn't breaching the rules anymore, which is sort of seems to be counterintuitive.
Yeah, no, I can't get into the details, obviously, but if you wanted to have a chat with the assessment manager, but again, also if there are breaches either now or into the future, that I encourage you to raise them so they can be addressed. Now, we'll allow one question. Councillor Stock, you were indicating you wanted to ask a question.
Yes, please. The gentleman mentioned a permit. I've got several questions. What permit has been issued? Is it a permit issued by the council, or is it development approval granted to the business that allows them to undertake certain functions?
We'd probably have to take that on notice given Ms. Charlton's not here.
Okay. My next question, does any of the administration present understand the intricacies of the application that is going before the CAP tomorrow? Was it released for public consultation?
No, it's not. So it doesn't have a formal consultation process for that type of application. And that's why they're asking, is there a way that their views can be incorporated into it? But I can ask the administration, is it? Yeah.
Okay. My
Final question. Yeah.
Two further questions. The zoning for this business, what is the zoning for the business? Is it rural residential? Is it township? Is it like how is a manufacturing business?
Can anyone answer that?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's
Productive rural landscape zones.
And I assume that allows for a manufacturing business.
Yes, but then it's the query about the timing of the deliveries and then the concerns about the expansion of that.
My final question is, given the application that is going before the CAP, even though it wasn't the subject of a formal public consultation requirement because it didn't meet that legislative requirement, is there anything stopping this council formulating a position and conveying that position to the CAP on this very issue?
Oh, I would say, given that matter is being considered tomorrow night, no, because that would be trying to make a decision on the fly without the relevant information. I guess the question would be whether it can be delayed, and I can't answer that off the top of my head.
I don't think I've got any more questions, and given the position we find ourselves in.
And I guess through those conversations with the assessment manager tomorrow, it'll be explored as to whether the concerns can be incorporated into the item or whether it can be delayed. I'm personally feeling is if it can be, then it should be. But within the legislative framework, I couldn't answer whether that's possible. Yeah. Sorry, just before you vacate your seat, what is your last name, Andrew? Sorry, we didn't. Warren? Thanks very much. Okay, so we did, and I was a little bit lenient with questions, but I understand you've all taken the time to come out, and I'm comfortable with that. So, we had a final person indicate they wanted to speak? If you'd like to just come up and state your name, location, and then you can talk to the chamber. Thanks.
Hey everyone. My name's Paris Leach. I live in the Piccadilly Valley just off Sprigg Road. I have been concerned about the amount of water being extracted by the Piccadilly Spring Gully Beverage Company for quite some time, for issues of my own for the water resource. However, I want to talk about the zoning. Firstly, a productive rural landscape is there to protect land for genuine agricultural production and related low-impact rural enterprises, to discourage industrial or urban activities and to maintain low levels of built form and vehicle activity, to preserve the landscape and character and biodiversity. The nature of the approved use, by contrast, a spring water extraction bottling implant involves extraction of a natural resource, on-site processing, bottling, storage, dispatch, high truck movements, large-scale built form sheds, tanks, loading bays, etc. The noise that comes from this factory, which is supposed to be in a rural, and I understand that this was a very small business at the beginning, but has expanded massively in a very short space of time. This contradicts the core objectives of protecting the agricultural productivity and rural amenity, and it conflicts with Council's own carbon reduction and environmental policies. It sets a precedent for further non-rural encroachment in a zone meant to resist such a creep. The argument is the activity provides rural employment and value adding to local resources, and it is an existing use. Value adding generally refers to the processes of farm produce, not industrial exploitation of a natural aquifer. I'd like to say that even if an existing use
Just got about 1 minute.
right exists, major intensification, i.e. larger sheds, triple truck movements, deeper bores, constitutes, in my mind and in my friends' minds, a new development and not a mere continuation of the current developments. I really would like everyone to consider this situation, which is now becoming untenable for all the residents in the valley. I hope you will take notice of what we are trying to do and what we are trying to preserve in this pristine environment that is the valley immediately behind the conservation area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess for the people here for that particular matter, obviously I explained that council is at arm's length from the panel. However, I really appreciate, and I'm sure all of us really appreciate you taking the time to come out and express your concerns. It is something that we as an elected body are passionate about, and whilst we don't make individual development decisions, we can often help inform policy or request code amendments to the government, and we are quite proactive in that space. So we do really appreciate you taking time out. I can't give you answers specifically about tomorrow night's CAP meeting, but please leave your details so staff can reach out in the morning, and I'll follow up in the morning as well with respect to what their views are, so I have a good understanding of that. Councillor Boyd?
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether there's been any research done on the impact of the increase of the extraction on the environment.
Again, I'd probably have to take that question on notice. I mean, increasing water extraction puts increased pressure on the system, but I couldn't tell you whether there's been quantifiable research.
Is that something that we should be doing before decisions are made?
Well, that's a decision for the CAP, and whether they think that's relevant, it's not something I can personally answer for them. Yeah. Thank you. So that does bring our public forum to the close. As I mentioned, we're not going to make a substantive decision on that, so we will not be insulted if you wish to go home now and enjoy the rest of your evening. But yeah, thank you very much again for taking the time out to come along and express your views. Cheers. Okay, moving on to item 9. We have no presentations. And we have no questions on notice or motions on notice, but we do come to the administration reports, the decision items. The first one being the community loans policy. Mr. Lewis, do you have any new or additional information you'd like to provide the chamber?
It was brought to our attention earlier today that the clause under section 5 of the policy is technically not correct. And it could be made clearer by an edit where we remove, I think if you see section 2A on the screen, that is a change we'd like to propose to make it clearer how the that there is no delegation to the administration, and all these any loan would need to come back to the elected member body for approval.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'd be happy to put the motion on the screen, but I do have a question, and that's on the first page of the policy. It refers to the review date, and that review date's actually in the past. It probably should read no later than September 2025, perhaps, or 26. But it's just on the opening page.
Yeah, so that can be captured in point 3.
Yep, if that's a minor matter, yeah.
No problem.
If that being addressed, I'd be happy to put the motion.
Would you like to speak to it?
Oh, just briefly. This was a policy first developed in 2018, I believe, and reviewed in 2020. And this motion doesn't make any substantial changes. So, yeah, I'd put the motion as is. It's a routine matter in my view. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cheetah, would you like to second the item?
Yes, I would, thank you.
Would you like to speak to the matter?
I just want to thank the administration for preparing the report, but also that the audit and risk had a look over it as well. But I think I just want to highlight the value of having this policy at all. We've had a lot of conversations between presentations in our chamber around some projects that community groups are looking to do, and I think this is certainly something I'd like to remind everyone exists when we have our conversations, opportunity for some of that funding for things out in our community. I think in the report it noted it's not a highly utilised opportunity. I think it should be. So I do encourage the community and elected members to share that with the residents and businesses.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to the item? Yeah, Councillor Gladego.
Maiden speech.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Couple of things with this one. One is the council a registered financial institution, or does it need to be able to do loans to businesses?
Mr. Lewis.
Yeah, through the chair, we're not a registered financial institution, but we're empowered to do it through the Local Government Act. But it is limited in what we will do. Obviously, it's for small loans to community groups.
Okay, I do have concerns as a councillor that the council would actually consider loans up to $1 million, or in here even $1.2 million. It's been talked of raising it to. I don't believe it's the business of the council to be giving loans to businesses, especially if it's considered to be a last chance for a organisation to be able to get money. Anybody who's on the last chance means that we're at big risk of how we're going to hand that money out, or we'll ever see that money back again. So I do have concerns. I don't believe this is what the council should be doing. Grants is one thing, loans is another, and I don't think loans is council's business at all. I do have a point, but that's probably a variation more than what this is.
So did you suggesting you might have a variation, or you can suggest it and I'll let you know if that's...
Well, I'd have two variations. One variation would be that the total amount should only be $500,000, not 1.2.
I would say that's an amendment, and unfortunately now that you've spoken to the item, but so, and the second one?
The second one is in a clause here, change of clause under 4.2 criteria.
Could you just let people know which agenda page? Just makes it easier.
Let's see if it's what it pops up here. 30? Page 30.
Thank you.
Clause 4.2, the last one is XIV, whichever that means in Romans, because I can't count in
14.
Roman numerals. The wording's been changed here from a majority of the community group's members, i.e. minutes of a committee meeting, make it clear that all members have been consulted to the community group's management committee. I don't agree with changing it to the community group's management committee because some of these committees can become very rogue in how they operate without talking to their members, and members aren't being part of a meeting. I think the original wording is actually far better.
Okay, so majority. I would say that both of those are amendments, but I guess you've put them out there, and if anyone feels the same way that hasn't spoken, they have the opportunity to move that amendment.
Yeah.
Do we have anyone else who would like to speak to the item? Yes, Councillor Woolcock.
Am I able to ask questions?
Yes.
The maximum loan amount is, when it says combined maximum loan amount, so I was just wondering, is that across all entities that we've loaned to, or is that to one entity in total, the 1.2 million?
Mr. Lewis?
Yeah, through the chair, the intention is that the maximum would lend any one organisation.
One organisation. So why the use of the word combined maximum value?
Through the chair, in case they have more than one loan.
Or to that one entity.
Yeah.
So one entity is able to take out multiple loans to the value of 1.2 million, potentially.
Subject to council approval.
Yeah. Subject to council approval, of course. There's, okay. Am I able to ask another question?
Yes.
Do we have a cap on how much can be loaned in total to community groups?
Mr. Lewis?
Through the chair, no, there's no cap. There's no approval without council approving it first.
Yes, but we could have multiple loans of one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I guess my assumption is because, and I was the person that asked the question about the clarity of whether it has to come to council. When a report would come to council, if there was a loan, there's none at the moment, I assume that the administration would provide financial implications to us, so how that would affect the long-term financial plan, and if there were existing loans, I assume that they would also include those within the report, so there's context for the elected body as to, I guess, the financial implications of that. Yep.
And is there any reasoning for the 1.2 million? Why has it been moved from a previous amount, which I believe to be 1, and increased to 1.2?
I think that was just inflation, is that correct?
Yeah, I think when we looked at it, the 1 million was originally tabled in 2018 when it was originally, the policy was originally developed, and just allowing for a low level inflation, probably less than actual inflation, would get up to 1.2 million. So it was really just to recognise the original intent of the policy.
Okay. How many more questions am I allowed?
It depends if they're going to help you inform the decision.
They will. How many of these loans have we
None.
given in time? No, we've never given a loan. Okay. Sorry. No, that's one more question. In my consultation with some community groups, there has been some issues around the use of the word resident. And so I was just curious around, it says about the resident status. So applications will only be considered by groups who are resident in the Adelaide Hills Council. Is that the actual group, or is that the members who are the committee of the group?
Mr. Lewis?
The intention is that will be the registered address of the organisation as a whole. It's
So
not the individuals who make it up.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Herman?
Yes, I was going to ask the question which you've answered there. There hasn't been any taking up of any loans under this new policy, whereas prior to...
Councillor Herman? You're speaking? Okay, sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
I was going to ask that question.
No, that's fine.
But speaking to that, there was an issue years ago where sporting clubs borrowed money and then found they couldn't repay them. If you go back long enough, and we can all remember it, when interest rates, when the original rates were borrowed, were about 6 or 8%, and they went up dramatically, which really crippled the clubs. They just couldn't afford it. So that was the reason for bringing this policy in, and justifiably so. The other point that I think would probably discourage clubs is on page 30, and I'll say 11, which is XI at the top. The interest rate applied to loans would be based on the market rates applicable at the time the council is able to borrow. Now we can, and not, that's the key word, and not what the council can borrow money for. We can get money cheaper because councils, local government borrows in bulk, but we would charge the market rate. So the question is always raised, well, why come to the council when you could go to a financial institution to get the funds? So my view of the world is that we will not get any applications under this policy. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak to the item? Councillor Grant, right of reply.
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor. Just briefly, and I thank elected members for their contributions. Yeah, I think it's important to note a couple of things that were touched on. This policy is almost never used. If it were, it's simply a policy that sets up a framework. If council were approached, this is how it would be addressed. Before anything is approved, it would come to this chamber. So it really is setting, to my mind, it's setting up a framework for if an approach were made, this is how the administration deal with it. It'll come to the chamber and we'll deal with it on its merits. It's important to remember, the loans are at commercial rates. It's not to businesses, it's only to community groups. So it's not going to give any business an unfair advantage. And as I say, it's a very rarely used policy. It sits there just in case there's an approach, and it will be dealt with in the chamber on its merits. But I will say that the points raised are very good. But just the same, I'll still be supporting the motion.
Thanks, Councillor Grant. With the debate closed, all those in favour to please indicate. Those against, that is carried. And we'll move on to item 12.2, the review of cemetery operating policy and memorials within council cemeteries policy. Ms Ballantyne, do you have any new or additional information you'd like to provide the chamber? Looks like there's a few additions.
Yes, I just wanted to thank everyone for those additions. Very valuable. Thank you.
Do you want to speak to them at all? They look quite minor, but just for those that may not be aware of them.
No, I think they're pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, would someone like to move something in relation to this item? Councillor Herman, would you like to speak to the item?
Not at this stage. I think it's self-explanatory. We've had this policy for some time. It's been upgraded, and those little bit of tweaking in there, I think it just adds to the clarity of the policy that people can understand it.
I can see people sort of searching up, so I might speak to them briefly. The first one is in relation to the speed of a vehicle within a cemetery. The second one is in relation to the opening times of our council offices. So that was changed a few years ago from 8:30 to 9. So that needed to be updated in the policy and it wasn't picked up. The third one is in relation to the clause about fire danger. So if it's catastrophic, instead of saying access is cancelled, I suggested prohibited was a more appropriate word. And the last clause is in relation to plaques on park benches. And instead, so if a bench is removed because it's deemed unsafe or anything, instead of holding onto those plaques for 3 months, that it would be a little bit longer. So if someone infrequently visits a cemetery, that then they might have more time to notice that that's occurred, and they can either recollect that or have it go on the next bench. So Councillor Herman, you have moved it. Would someone like to second the item? Councillor Osterstock, do you wish to speak to the item? Would anyone else like to speak to the matter? Councillor Woolcock?
I have a variation. It's a spelling error on page 61. Adelaide, in the Adelaide Hills Council has spoken correctly.
Yep, so with the point 4, so when we have policies on the screen, you can see there's that last point where it says the Chief Executive Officer can be authorised to make any formatting, nomenclature and other minor changes. That suggestion, they can capture that, so you don't need to formally vary it. But yeah, thanks for picking that up. It's very good. Would anyone else like to speak to the matter? Okay, no need for a right of reply, Councillor Herman. The debate closed. All those in favour, please indicate. That is carried unanimously. So we'll now move on to item 12.3, which is the asset accounting policy. Mr. Lewis, do you have any new information you'd like to provide the chamber?
No, I do not.
Someone like to move something in relation to this item? Councillor Boyd, would you like to speak to the item? Someone like to second the matter? Councillor Grant, do you wish to speak to it?
Yeah, just briefly, thank you, Acting Mayor. This policy's been to the Audit and Risk Committee and been scrutinised there, which is reassuring. But I think it's entirely appropriate that we have a systematic and consultative approach to asset management in a number of respects. I think this is going to tidy up a whole lot of matters that haven't been entirely clear. And, you know, things that I've been concerned about in the past, such as the distinction between capital expenditure and operational, such as road widening, which is often done under operational, whereas really it's a new capital asset. It's just an extra so many metres of road. It may seem minor, but it's important on how these expenditures are allocated and how they're recorded, so that we're not surprised by having more assets appear by means that aren't captured. Anyway, I support the motion. I think it's a good one.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Would anyone else like to speak to the item? Yes, Councillor Herman.
Yes, it did come before the Audit Committee and there was a bit of tweaking done and the committee supported it, make that quite clear. I did have a concern on page 79, point 5.1, capitalisation threshold and asset definition. Now that determines when something is an asset capitalised or not, like the operating cost. All costs will be treated as operating in the first instance unless the cost meets the definition of an asset. And the definition of an asset is the initial costs exceeds $20,000. Now in my mind, I thought that might have been a bit high. And I quoted a ride-on mower for argument's sake. You can probably get a reasonable ride-on mower for $20,000. In that, under this definition, as I understand it, I can be corrected, if it came in at $18,000, it would be an operating expense. Is that correct? Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's correct if it's an individual purchase. But for example, if a multiple of something were being bought, laptops, and the bulk buy is over the 20K, then it wouldn't.
Yes,
but yes,
yeah.
if it's one individual item that was under the 20K, you're correct.
Yeah, you understand about the bulk,
Yeah.
but just the single
Yeah, so that would be
ride-on mower. I just thought maybe that might have been high. That was a personal opinion. The Audit Committee didn't accept that, so I just thought I'd draw your attention to it.
Thank you, Councillor Herman. Anyone else like to speak to the item? Councillor Boyd, you need a right of reply. With the debate closed, all those in favour to please indicate. That is also carried unanimously. We'll move on to item 12.4. So this is the Adelaide Hills Reconciliation Working Group Terms of Reference and Membership. Ms Shepherd, do you have any... Sorry, I'll give you a moment to... Do you have any new or additional information you'd like to provide the chamber? No? So we have a couple of decision points. The first one is in relation to the terms of reference. I'd like to deal with that separately as shown in the agenda. And then I'll find out what nominations there are for the working group, and that will determine the second decision. So in terms of decision one, would someone like to move something in relation to that? Councillor Grant, what would you like to move?
As on the screen?
Would you like to speak to the item?
No, I don't need to, thank you. Councillor
Boyd, you'd like to second? Do you wish to speak to it? Would anyone like to contribute to the debate? Actually, Councillor Herman, can you just turn your mic off, thanks? Well, you can if you want.
Yeah, I've got to find it. Lacking a little bit of information. Oh, I will speak to it and I just can't find it. So where in the TO terms of reference there's a reporting requirement, and I think it said reporting annually.
Yes, correct.
And I suggested maybe annually, but put a date, 30th of June or whatever, rather than annually is a bit vague to me. could be January. We don't know when we can expect that report. But
Shepherd?
I haven't got my notes with me, so I'll have to let it slide.
Do you have any thoughts on that? Sure.
Through you, Acting Mayor, one of the challenges is because this is a joint terms of reference between Mount Barker Council and our council, it's more difficult to do it that way. It's easier just to have some flexibility because of timings of meetings, and so there will still be annual reporting. It's just we haven't specified the date.
No, except that I still like to see a date, but I understand the issue.
Sure. Would anyone else like to speak to the item? Okay, assume no need for a right of reply. Councillor Grant. Okay, with the debate closed, all those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. We'll move on to item 12. We have the second decision. So I am aware that Councillor Mudge has nominated to be the representative. Are there any other nominations to be the representative? Because that will indicate how we go forward from here. Is anyone interested in nominating as the proxy? Yes, Councillor Woolcock. Is there anyone else? No, given that, we can just move forward with decision 2. So that would be inserting Councillor Leith Mudge. And then as the proxy, Councillor Woolcock. So Lisa Claire Woolcock. Do you want to explain that? So Dr. Gill might just summarise potential conflicts of interest in relation to when you're being appointed to a group or a committee.
So through you, Acting Mayor, generally when you're being appointed to a committee, you would consider whether you've got a material or a general conflict of interest, and then you would declare that now and elect to leave the meeting. So normally for this, whether it's financial or not, it turns on whether you think you get a benefit or not in being on the committee.
Okay. No worries. Okay, so with decision 2, we've popped in the 2 names. Would someone like to move something in relation to that? Councillor Grant?
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. I'd move that as on the screen.
Sure.
And if I may speak briefly, Councillor Mudge has been on the position for a couple of years at least. I think when we're appointing people to various committees and boards, continuity is important, and certainly with the reconciliation working group, I think continuity is extremely important. I think Councillor Mudge has been extremely good in that role, and I welcome Councillor Woolcock to her first appointment, I think she'll be a good proxy representative should it be called upon.
Do I have a seconder for the motion? Yes, Councillor Boyd. Would you like to speak to the item?
I think that we're very lucky to have both of these councillors with a hand up and strong. I think it's imperative that we keep that relationship strong, and I think we put the hands up to be working well.
Would anyone else like to contribute to the debate? No. I assume no need for a right of reply, Councillor Grant, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please indicate. That is carried unanimously. So we'll move on to item 12.5, which is the delegations made under the Planning, Development and Infrastructure Act 2016, Regulations, Planning Design Code, Practice Directions. Bit of a mouthful. Dr. Gill, do you have any new or additional information you'd like to provide the chamber?
Through you, Acting Mayor, we've just picked up a typo, really. We missed correcting the change in name of a director, so we've just captured that.
Thank you. Someone like to move something in relation to this? Councillor Osterstock, what would you like to move? Do you wish to speak to the item? Do I have a seconder? Yes, Councillor Grant. Do you wish to speak to the item? Does anyone like to contribute to the debate? Yes, Councillor Herman.
I won't contribute. Just a question. These delegations, have they been run through our legal people, or they come out of the LGA or something? Where do they originate from?
Dr. Gill?
Through you, Acting Mayor, we use the LGA's template, the LGA's template is written for them by Norman Waterhouse lawyers, and so we mimic their template, but then we do actually consult with staff and make sure it aligns with how staff operate.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it, that it's gone through a scrutiny and a process.
Thanks. Would anyone like to debate the item? No. With the debate closed then, all those in favour please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Move on to item 12.6, delegations again, this time with respect to the Local Government Act 1999. Dr. Gill, any new or additional information you'd like to provide? No. Someone like to move something in relation to this matter? Councillor Grant, what would you like to move?
As shown on the screen.
Sure. Do you wish to speak to the item?
Oh, just briefly. We undertook review of delegations for minor changes in April 2025, and there's been a minor legislative change since that time, and this is just picking that up. So I think it's a routine matter.
Does someone who'd like to second the item? Someone? Anyone? Councillor Osterstock, would you like to speak to the item? Would anyone like to contribute to the debate? Okay, then with the debate closed, all those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. We'll move on to item 12.7, which is confidential items review. So just for the new elected members in particular, this is broken down into a whole series of decisions. They are in relation to releasing or maintaining items in confidence, and obviously because they're currently confidential items, if you're wanting to discuss the substance of any of those, we would need to move into confidence, but it's normal practice that you would ask that in advance of the meeting. But if you really feel you need to make that decision of holding things in confidence or not, that is something that we can do. So the first one is just to note the report and the register. Would someone like to move something? Councillor Cheetah, what would you like to move?
Just got a question. Are we able to move these on block?
It's general practice, particularly with this sort of items, not to.
Sure.
Probably I'd limit that to correspondence typically.
I'm happy to move it.
Sure. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Grant? I know it's a bit tedious, but yes, Councillor Huxter, you've got a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Through you. We go through this every time, I think, and with 3 new elected members, it might be beneficial to make a formal request. Could we have a workshop on these confidential items so that we can actually properly review them in confidence without, like, we sit through here and we sort of just accept it and move on, and then we tend to ask questions a lot about why things are kept in confidence, but we don't get the opportunity to really dive into them and figure it out.
So the one out of the motion that was moved, I think earlier this year or last year in relation to confidential items, the administration have set up that process where for each of these particular items, it is available on the portal where they've put the decision and the report. So, for example, whether it's decision 3 or 4, you can go and look at that substantive matter if you're not familiar with it to determine whether you feel it should be kept in confidence. But if the elected body feel that there should be a workshop every 3 months on it, we could do that, but just noting that's going to take time away from other things.
Yeah, I don't know if every 3 months is necessary. I nearly fell off my chair. That would have been embarrassing. But just to go through some of the things that are on there at the moment, and we could talk them through as a collective rather than... Question of clarification. Are you talking about the entire confidential items register, or are you talking about what's being considered tonight? Because that does occur every 3 months. So this is going to come up every 3 months. So if you're wanting to do it on this report, it would have to occur every 3 months. Or the other option could be a hybrid of those two suggestions, and maybe the items that have been on the confidential register for a long time. But
you could move an amendment if you wish.
What would I want to move is a question I ask myself.
I'm anticipating what you're considering is that for, let's say, for confidential items that have been in confidence for longer than X time, that a workshop is held to brief the elected members on the rationale and reasons for that being in confidence. And then that would probably be quite helpful for the new elected members who don't have the context or history of these particular matters.
One last question. Would I do that now, or would I do that as a motion without notice?
How you do it now?
Perfect. On the fly.
Yeah.
That's how I operate well. I would like to propose an amendment, please.
I guess there's two. Dr. Gill just made a good point. There's two ways you can go about this. If you're confident in what you want to do, that being that you want to review all confidential items older than X and hold a workshop on that, you could move an amendment now, or you could have a chat with Dr. Gill
do that.
and then bring something back at a subsequent meeting.
I will bring something back
Sure.
at a subsequent
No
meeting.
worries. Good point to raise though.
No
particularly
further
with
questions.
Would you like to debate the item?
No, thank you.
Sure. Okay, so noting this is decision 1, good questions though. Would anyone like to contribute to the debate at all? No. I'll put the motion then. All those in favour to please indicate. So that is carried unanimously. So now we'll move on to decision 2. So this is in relation to decision 27324. Would someone like to move something? Councillor Herman?
Yeah, I'll move as in the report. I did clarify with the administration about whether the owner of the land had been consulted about this proposal to release the public, and I was advised they had. So on that basis, I'd have to move it.
Thanks. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Grant, you were in first. Sorry, Councillor Walcott.
This is released.
Yes, this is to release the item to public. Would anyone like to contribute to the debate? Okay, then I'll put the motion. All those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Move on to decision 3, 35924, noting that this is to keep this one in confidence. Would someone like to move something in relation to that? Councillor Grant?
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. Yeah, many of them, the matters we have are releasing things from confidence, but I certainly welcome questions about the use of confidentiality because we should scrutinise it. This is one matter in which we're keeping the matter in confidence, and I'm very familiar with this. I think it's entirely appropriate in this case, but I can't speak any further unless we were to go into confidence to do so. But I think this is a matter which is entirely appropriate to remain in confidence for the time being.
Thanks. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Osterstock, do you wish to speak to the item? Okay, if there's no debate, yes, Councillor Gladego.
And this is, hopefully you can tell me why, but point 2 is I don't really understand why point 2 is there, given the fact that we're asking to leave this as confidential and then we're leaving it open for the CEO to have the right to be able to make the change.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Gill, do you want to explain that one?
Through you, Acting Mayor, that's a standard clause that we tend to put in all of the delegations. Actually, under Act, he can do that anyway, but it's used because often there might be a reason between the 3 months that it's appropriate for it to be released, and we consult across the administrative staff and they make the determination that whatever the requirements that put it into confidence are now no longer there. We do notify council when things have come out of confidence. And again, if there's any conflict, there's also staff that have delegations under the CEO as well.
Councillor Herman?
Yeah, question. In regard to that, just a supplementary question. If the CEO exercises that delegation between the 3 monthly reviews, do elected members get advised of that
yeah, we typically
use of the
do.
delegation?
Yes.
Yeah, such and such. Thank you.
Okay, so we've had Councillor Grant move, Councillor Stock second. Would anyone else like to debate the item? Okay, then all those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. We'll move on to decision 4. So this is from the PRP, decision 3324, noting that this is to release to the public. Would someone like to move something in relation to this item? Councillor Walcott. Sure. Would you like to speak to the item?
No, thank you.
Councillor Herman, you happy to second? Would anyone like to debate the item? Okay, would all those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. So moving on to decision 5. Again, this is to determine to release it to the public. Would someone like to move something in relation to that item? Councillor Grant, what would you like to move?
Yeah, as on the screen.
Thanks. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gladigo. Would anyone like to debate the item? Okay, all those in favour, please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Move on to decision 6, which is again from the PRP, decision 4124. Would someone like to move something in relation? Councillor Gladigo, would you like to speak to the item? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Trescothick, do you wish to speak to the item? Anyone wish to debate? Okay, all those in favour to please indicate. Councillor Boyd, thanks. That is carried unanimously. So decision 7, that's decision 356/24. And this is also to release to the public. Would someone like to move something in relation to that? Councillor Grant.
Yeah, as on the screen.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Woolcock. Anyone to debate the item? All those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Move on to decision 8 again. So this is 408/24. Someone like to move something? This is to release it to the public. Councillor Grant.
Yeah, as on the screen. This is very cleansing, this process.
Councillor Herman.
Second.
No debate. All those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Decision 9. Again, this is to release to the public. Councillor Woolcock, you'd like to move the item? This is good to get the new members in the flow of making decisions. I like it.
I think it's vital that we actually have our name on the minutes at some stage. Vital that we have our name on the minutes at some stage. And I would like to make a comment that transparency is the foundation of a strong, solid democracy. So I really appreciate this process. Thank you.
No worries. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Grant, any debate? Okay, all those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Last decision, decision 10, again to release to the public. That's decision 45/24 of the PRP. Councillor Gladigo, you'd like to move? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Huxter. If there's no debate, all those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Okay, got through them all. I do think it's important not to move those on block because they are all very different items, and but I also appreciate Councillor Cheetah's suggestion that it would streamline things. So moving on to item 12.8, which, as you would be aware, has been withdrawn, so that will not be considered this evening. Which then brings us to the administration item or information items, of which there are none. We do have correspondence for noting. They have been grouped together based on topic. And so the first one being in relation to the freight bypass. Would someone like to move something in relation to that? Councillor Grant, what would you like to move?
As on the screen, thank you.
Someone like to second the item? Councillor Huxter. If there's no debate, all those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Okay, 14.2, of which there are multiple correspondence from the Flood Management Authority. Would someone like to move something? Yes, Councillor Herman. So on the screen, just 4.2, 1 and 2. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Grant. No debate. All those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Move on to item 14.3, which is from our Regional Waste Management Authority. Would someone like to move something in relation to that item? Councillor Grant, would you like to speak to the item?
Yeah, I would like
thought
to
you might. There's a bulky report in there. So.
Yeah, how much time do I have?
5 minutes. as dictated by legislation.
All right, well, there's no need to time. I'll be very brief. Yeah, look, I'd encourage everyone to read this annual report. I know it's about waste, and it mightn't be the most thrilling thing, but the Adelaide Hills Regional Waste Management Authority, for those unfamiliar, run the Brinkley Depot. They spend about $10 million a year burying 50,000 tonnes of landfill, but they also do a lot of other important roles, like 60 tonnes of toxic chemicals, significant tonnages of building rubble. There's something that's going to be a bigger and bigger issue with the amount of construction happening in Mount Barker and near Murray Bridge, with a major housing development happening there. I think 37,000 homes. So Brinkley's going to have a lot happening. It handles a lot of green waste, not through our pickups, but through skips and other means. A lot of work happens there, and that facility is going to grow. We're one of 3 councils that are owners of that body. We fund it and we send our rubbish there. And there's a lot of strategic decisions to be made in the next few years that will come before the chamber, some of them very soon, about how that organisation is run. So I'd encourage everyone to have a read of the annual report. It's extremely readable. It's extremely well written. But it's a facility that's come from a standing start just a few years ago to being a significant operation, and we probably need to catch up. So I'd appreciate people becoming familiar with that document. So anyway, I commend the motion to the meeting.
Councillor Herman, you're seconding the
I'll
item?
second that, and I've been advised that they will be making a presentation to this council in November. So read the report now so you've got questions to ask them.
Good point, thank you. Anyone else like to speak to the item? Okay, I'll put the vote then. All those in favour, please indicate. That is carried unanimously. So move on to 14.4, which is from the Electoral Commission. Would someone like to move something? Councillor Osterstock. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Grant. Any debate? Okay, all those in favour, please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Move on to item 14.5, which is around the power line, undergrounding of power lines. Would someone like to move something in relation to this? Councillor Grant?
Yes.
Would you like to speak to the item?
Yeah, I will speak briefly. I think it's a little cute that we're invited to engage in undergrounding power lines. Of course, it'll be at our expense, I expect. The Cuddly Creek fire, which caused about $150 million worth of damage and took 100 homes and 1 life, was caused by a power line failure. Undergrounding power lines should be routine and it shouldn't be at council's expense. And it is alluded to in the letter, but it's only touched on that our real issue is the danger associated with power lines, not amenity or aesthetics, but it's a really important fundamental role that should be undertaken to make the power line safe and not cause major bushfires. Well, that fire cost this council, I think, $5 million alone in cleanup. It's just incredibly damaging. And anyway, that's my comment on that correspondence. But anyway, we'll have to accept it.
Councillor Gladego, you indicated you'd second the item. Do you wish to speak to it? Anyone like Councillor Herman?
Yes, just props for new members' edification. Council has adopted a motion in the last 2 or 3 years when Gumaraka got their power lines underground as part of their Main Street project. And they're not cheap. They're not cheap, even though the costs are shared roughly a third. It is not a capital expense for the council because it's not the council's assets, so it's an operating expense. However, at the same time, we were faced with applications from other towns when they saw the success that Gumaraka has been, and it really has been successful. Council determined the priority for the bottom section of Main Street in Loberthal near Fabric, section in the Main Street of Woodside, and also Spring Head. That was the priority that they'd adopted should council decide to pursue an application for funding. Happy to second it.
Thanks. And just for the benefit of new members, might just touch on that third contribution a little bit more. So if any undergrounding of power lines, it's typically a third paid for by SAPN, third paid for by the council, and then a third paid for by the state government. So it does cost a considerable amount of money for council to progress one of these matters. Would anyone else like to speak to the item? Okay, I'll put the vote then. All those in favour, please indicate. That is carried unanimously. We'll move on to 14.6 with respect to the algal bloom. Would someone like to move something in relation to this? Councillor Grant, what would you like to move?
As shown on the screen, thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cheetah. Does anyone wish to speak to the item? Okay, I'll put the motion then. All those in favour, please indicate. That is carried unanimously. 14.7, which is all around the boundary change and the letter that went to different ministers. Would someone like to move something in relation to this? Councillor Osterstock. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Woolcock. Does anyone wish to speak to the item? Yeah.
I'd just like to commend the personalisation of each one of those letters, which I felt it was a really nice touch, and hopefully will help put them to the top of the pile.
Thanks very much. Anybody else wish to speak? I'll put the motion then. All those in favour, please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Okay, so that is it for our correspondence. Does anyone have a question without notice? Councillor Herman, do you know in our mock meeting we actually incorporated a question without notice from you? Can you just pop your microphone on? Can you just pop your microphone on? Thanks.
Said I didn't bring them with me.
And do you know what your questions are? Probably.
We're running early. The question was to the CEO about any updating on staff movements over the last 6 or 8 weeks, say since August. Movements in and out.
Okay.
Sure.
CEO?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Acting Mayor. I was going to provide a brief report at the CEO's report, but I'll talk to it now. First, I'd like to congratulate Jade Ballantyne. She's completed a 3-month probation, so she's officially permanent. So thank you. So well done. Yep. There has been some movements. We've had 6 new starters. We've had 5 people that have exited the organisation. Just a couple of the key roles. We're recruiting for a team leader, statutory planning, manager property services, and manager strategic assets. We're looking at recruiting because those positions have become or potentially become vacant. The other position that will be filled soon, and there will be an announcement, I'll let Jess make that announcement, is the manager for Region and Place. That person has been appointed, but I'll let Jess send out an email advising you who that person is.
Thanks very much, CEO. Any further questions without notice? No. Does anyone have a motion without notice? Councillor Herman, what is your motion without notice?
Can you put it up, get it up on the board? As I put only around late tonight, Amy Gillard will be supposedly unofficially opened on the weekend, so people can use it unofficially, although they are using it unofficially already. So remember, the microphone picks up everything. So
yes, it does.
So the motion on the board is because I think we ought to pay tribute to David Collins and his implementation team for getting that project through the gates and almost to completion stage. Well, it is, well, practical completion, I think they call it, for official opening in November. And the reason for bringing that forward is, as I understand, Mr. Collins is leaving the council. So whilst he's still in our employ, I thought it would be quite appropriate for the council to congratulate him on that effort. And again, as I understand, it will come in budget, which is not not that usual in any government business. They usually seem to run over budget. A little bit behind on a few things, but it's I reckon, a credit to him. A $5.7 million project, as I understand, would be the biggest project this council has undertaken apart from Coventry Library. Well, I don't know what the price of that was, but that would have been in the millions. Fabric was quite big. That was about 4.5. So this is a big project. So I seek endorsement from the council for the council to congratulate me on the completion of that.
Okay, so taking into account the guiding principles, I will accept that motion without notice, hence allowing you to speak to it. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Boyd, would you like to speak to the item?
Thank you. I think all of us in the community are very grateful that this has come to this stage. So yeah, I think that it's great that we say thank you.
Councillor Huxter, would you like to speak to the item?
Thank you. Through you. This is a great motion. I think it's worthy of congratulating the team. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When is Mr. Collins' last day?
Thinking time.
Don't worry about it. Can this be done? Can we put a date on this to make sure that it is done?
Friday.
Can it be done before he leaves the organisation?
Well, I guess we are formally congratulating him and his team, but there's no specific formal correspondence, but we can ensure that happens tomorrow.
Oh, I just assumed. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but we will ensure that happens tomorrow. Yep.
Cool. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak to the item? Councillor Grant?
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. Yeah, I'll just comment, and I thank Councillor Herman for this motion. It is a great success completing that project. It's a big project, and I'm familiar with some of the staff who worked on it, and they certainly encountered many difficulties with the many contractors involved. It's rare for these things to be done anywhere within time. So I thank the team and Mr. Collins and wish him his best endeavours and hope he forwards his cricketing career. He happens to be a very good local cricketer as well.
Thanks, Councillor Grant. Would anyone else like to speak to the matter? Okay, then no need for a right of reply, Councillor Herman. The debate closed. All those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Moving on to reports, of which Councillor Herman and Councillor Grant have put in. So with the Regional Waste Management Authority, we've just got the one. Yeah. Okay, so with 17.2, and does either of you wish to speak to that meeting? Is there anything you'd like to bring to the attention of the elected body? Councillor Herman?
Yes, I'll just draw your attention, the Audit and Risk Committee, the GRFMA, we have a concern and investigating insurance of the Bruce Eastick Dam, which is value of it's about 55 million. It's a depreciated value is about $42 million. We do carry a public risk policy, and going through when we went through the insurance schedule, the dam itself is not insured. So you've got a $50 million asset. If it broke its banks and flooded, the flooding of the properties downstream is okay. We can claim under insurance, but the dam itself is not. So that poses a big problem for the authority, because the insurance premium on the dam, and to even get someone to insure it, it is about 20 years old, is causing a bit of consternation, I suppose, is the least. So no decision, but we are pursuing that. So I hope we don't get a thunderstorm or a flood up that way that takes the dam out.
Thanks for that, and if you can keep us updated, that would be appreciated. Councillor Grant, do you need to update the chamber on either of yours?
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. Yeah, just briefly, I mentioned the Regional Waste Management Authority earlier, so there's strategic decisions coming up on that, which I've already touched on. Community Bushfire Reference Group, we had a report from the CFS, and their advice from BOM is lower than average rainfalls for the next few months, which means, although it's very green at the moment, a bushfire season will be particularly unwelcome, we should say.
Thanks very much. Moving on to the CEO's report.
Thank you, and through you, Acting Mayor. Not much tonight, just focusing on the operations of the organisation. I did mention last time our all-staff meeting was a success. At that all-staff meeting, we did roll out a Great Place to Work initiative, and that's one of my KPIs. Just for the new elected members, that's about, it's a survey, it's a third-party accreditation. It's a global company, and it's compared with other organisations that are similar to us, but it is very much never been applied in a local government setting. And part of that all-staff meeting, we also rolled out our values initiative as well and bedded that into our organisation. And we've now got more champions after that initiative, so we rely on our champions to spread the good news of our values. And that was successful. We managed to get an additional 3 on the 9 that we already have, which is a great outcome. Productive meetings with the Department of Infrastructure and Transport, and we'll continue with those meetings really about collaborating on key infrastructure projects across our region. That's all I'd like to provide an update.
Anyone have a question for the CEO? Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Thank you for the report, CEO. If I could ask a question on the all-staff meeting, and I'm a great fan of these sorts of events, is that a regular 6-monthly or annual event?
It is through, thank you for the question, and through you, Acting Mayor, yes, we have regular fixtures. We will also have a Christmas event, and traditionally the one that around December, we do invite all elected members to come along to that one as well, but we hold at least 4 a year.
I just have one, because you were talking about champions. I know that was in relation to the values, but can we, the information around the Champions Initiative, can we get that circulated to the new elected members? Sorry, it's just so they can join up to a director of interest. If already has been.
Sorry.
Great.
Acting Mayor, we have distributed that. And,
sorry.
And it's been great to see that the new elected members have really embraced that.
Cool.
and put their hands up for not just one directorate, but
wow.
a couple, which is great.
Okay, so moving on to item 18, we have one reporter committee, which is the CAP. Would someone like to move something in relation to that? Councillor Herman, do I have a seconder? Councillor Grant, all those in favour to please indicate. Sorry, I got a bit of cough. That is carried unanimously. We have no... far out. Sorry. We have no reports of committees. Yeah. Which brings us to the confidential items. Now, in order to prepare for that, we do need to adjourn the meeting. So if can I have someone to move to adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes? Councillor Huxter. And then Councillor Cheetah to second. All those in favour to please indicate. That is carried unanimously. Thanks very much. So I'll give you 10 minutes, and no, I will not go have a whiskey for my throat. Thanks. Yes. Oh, sorry.
You all right?
Yeah, I've had recurring cough for weeks, and it kind of almost went away, and then like since maybe last Thursday, it's come back up, and it just like if I speak a lot, and now that I'm back at school, it's like it's just agitating, and it's really frustrating. Cause it's like, and you kind of in a situation like this, you try to suppress it, and then it just gets